Hi, I'm Caitlin,
And I'm Brianna.
and welcome to the Readers Clubhouse where we revisit our childhood favorite content. Brenda, go.
Caitlin,
Yes.
do you remember do you have like a memorable road trip you went on
Are we talking childhood or just ever in my life?
ever in your life?
I have actually gone on quite a few road trips because
Mm,
I went to college far away.
yeah.
Um, okay, memorable. Memorable good? Question mark. Um, I mean, okay, here we go. After I graduated college, drove from college back home all by myself because
Yeah.
that's just how I roll. And I I drove 10 hours to a friend's house, and then I drove like another 2 hours to a different friend's house because they were that close. And so I was like, I may as well just do that and stay. Uh and then I drove, I think it was like 7 or 8 hours to another friend's house, and then I drove another like 6 or 7 hours or whatever it was, up home.
Or
And
you
that
came to live with
was
me.
where came to live with you. Yep. And that was really fun. Honestly, it did hurt my legs a lot being the only one driving and not being able to I mean,
Mhm.
I could have stopped to stretch maybe a bit more, but like the first day was already a 10-hour drive.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm not a person who makes a lot of stops when I road trip.
Mm,
If if it's under 5 hours, I might stop one time
yeah.
if I really have to pee really bad. If I don't, I'm just like, let's go. Let's just go. This is how you can
Yeah.
tell I don't have children. Is because I'm like, no, we don't stop. A
Yeah.
more recent road trip that was memorable for a bad reason was last year. I have where I currently live, and I have some friends where I've spent a lot of time with over the years.
Hmm.
Shout out to my my friends. Um, and I was going back to their house to get some stuff. And so, because they have some of my stuff stored for me, basically. And so I went on a day trip there. Now, the thing about the day trip is that it's a 3.5 hour drive one way. And so
Yeah.
my good old friend who lives up here, went with me. And we drove 3.5 hours. It was like early in the morning. It was really fun. Like we went to the beach. We had a good time. We got some food at a restaurant that I really love down there. Um, my friend met these other friends, and it was like a weird like worlds clashing thing, which I love sometimes. And then on the way back, we were like, you know what? We may as well stop for food in a town that's about an hour and a half away from the house. And we went and we were involved in and witnessed a pretty gnarly car accident.
Yeah.
And the car I was driving was not my car, it was a car I was borrowing from a friend, and that was
Yeah.
stressful. So, what about you,
That's
Brianna?
stressful.
Tell me about road trips for you.
I
I
have
make
a
myself a cup of
one.
tea.
Yeah, I have one that you were a part of actually.
What?
And yeah. So this is like 10 years ago now, I think.
What?
Yeah. So I one of my favorite video games
Oh,
series, yeah, is Final Fantasy. And at some point, hopefully, we'll be able to talk about it because, like, that's one of my things that I've been obsessed with since I was like
yeah.
a kid, honestly. And they do concerts, and I honestly wish that I could have gone to more, but there's only one that I've ever been to.
Hmm.
And it was like, I think, I want to say it was 2014, 2015. I don't remember because you were still in high school at the time. And I wanted some people to come with me. I bought some tickets. You for sure were coming. And then two of my friends were coming. One of them was just coming along to hang out with us.
Yeah.
They didn't actually like go to the concert. So they hung out with like in our hotel or like and stuff like that. It was really funny. And so we borrowed a car because it was a bigger one from my friend who's also a parent of another friend. I made friends with the family and stuff.
Classic.
Confusion. Yeah. And
I just love how careful we are about not putting people's names in.
I mean they're not we want to
Uh,
be careful.
I know, I know.
So
I love how because you and I both know who we're talking about. It's like
Yes.
the friend who's also the parent of a friend. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I get it. And other people are like,
Yes.
what?
Yeah.
Anyway, it's fine.
Confusion. So we drive there. My one friend is a really good driver, but also gets stressed out by driving and everything and stuff.
And
And
I have my license at that point.
I think so, yeah. I don't remember.
But
So they wanted to drive, which I
mhm.
was like, that's fine. I don't care, honestly. And it was their parents' car and stuff, so
Yeah,
that's totally okay with me and everything.
that all makes
So we
sense.
get, yeah, so we get there. We're in Portland, and like had a good time. There's some moments, like awkwardness and everything with some other stuff going on and all that fun stuff. But on our way back. It was a long drive between Portland and
Yeah.
upper like north of Seattle and everything where we live. And we were literally about like a minute from the exit we need to take to get off to get home, literally. And something happened like we so my friend was driving and I don't remember if they like didn't see somebody was there or somebody just like kind of sped up or something like that. It's been such a long time. But they overcorrected and we were all really tired, which was like a part of this. Um and you weren't a part of this part
That's
because
what I
you
thought.
we
Because I,
dropped you about
I,
yeah,
yeah,
you were not a part of this part because you had um we
I
dropped you
lived,
off.
yeah, I
Yeah, you
lived in the
lived
town
like
like 3.5 hours away for high school.
yeah,
So,
yeah. So we dropped you off. At this point, it was just me and my two friends, and me and one of the friends were in the back seat, and the friend was driving was in the front. And it was, I don't remember who said it. I want to say it was one of them. But so we fishtail for a
mhm,
minute. So me and one friend are in the back. We're getting like thrown around. I think like sardines is what somebody had said at one point. And it was like it was not fun. And we all were like
mm-mm,
really stressed out afterward and everything. It was like kind of a thing. So
mhm,
that trip was always very memorable because beautiful concert, beautiful
mhm.
music. Um, but just like all of the driving and all of that other stuff, like
Yeah,
very stressful and everything. And then almost getting into an accident
yeah.
was wild and stuff. And it was like just it was wild. So that was one of my memorable road trips
I
with
don't
all
think
of
you
that
ever
stuff.
told me that
I could
about.
have sworn that I did.
Well, I mean, you definitely could have, and I just don't remember. Let's be
It
real.
was it was a long time ago.
Yeah, if it was like 10, 11 years ago, like
It definitely was at this point, honestly, because you were still in high school and you graduated in
2015.
2015. So it's either the year you graduated or the year right before that.
It, are we sure
And
it
I don't
wasn't
remember what time of
2013?
it. Maybe it was late 2013
Because I
and stuff.
know 2014 was the year that our brother and his wife got married.
Mm. I don't remember, but it was over a decade ago now. So like
That's,
that is what it is. It was just wild, honestly.
that's crazy, Ren.
Yeah.
I do not remember you telling me that, but I also don't remember a lot of things, so you could have, and I just forgot.
Yeah, it happens. All right, so we are going right into stats like normal. So you guys, if you've been listening, last week we talked about Lord Brocktree, or not last week, the week before, 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago we talked about Lord Brocktree, and this one, part of the reason why we picked both of these together to read together was because Lord Brocktree is like ancient
Hmm.
Mossflower history. And then Legend of Luke is like ancient Martin the Warrior history a little
Yeah.
bit of like even before his like it's not before his time because it kind of starts with him being born, but it's about like his father and
Hmm.
stuff. So this book, The Legend of Luke, is in a large part about Martin the Warrior's father. And it was actually, funnily enough, released the year before Lord Brocktree was.
Hmm.
So like they are very close. Like in publishing order to
Hmm.
each other and stuff. So that's a very interesting aspect about it. And again, written by Brian Jakes. It's a fantasy fiction, and age range is 8 to 14, middle grade usually. But it's really for anybody, honestly, to read at
Hmm.
any point in their life. Once they kind of reach that past point, there's some things that like little kids would not get if they tried to read this. So yeah, that's
And
those are the stats for
also,
this. Yeah,
they, I don't think you mentioned him at all in this.
mention two.
Fulgrim, the
I
vermin-eating otter.
whoa, what about him?
Well, it's one of the things that I feel like this one's a little bit older, just because it does deal not quite with cannibalism, because it's not quite the same, but like it's pretty gruesome, the
Oh,
description of
okay. I was like, what does that have to do with
age range
like
is what I'm talking
oh,
about
okay.
here.
I was because you went to but and I was like and then you started talking about Fulgrim and I'm like I didn't add him because I could only mention so many
I know.
characters
I
and
know.
stuff and I was very confused. But yeah, that has some like darker stuff in it and
Mhm.
everything dealing with that trauma especially. I feel like that's a big part of this book. So yeah, that
Mhm.
is a big part of all of this. It's a part of the stats. Okay. So I'm gonna hop right into our summary of the plot. You ready,
Doo-doo-doo.
Caitlin?
Let's go.
Some seasons after Martin the Warrior defeated Zarmina, the Woodlanders had begun to build what would one day be the Redwall Abbey that we know and love. Martin has kept the Abbey safe during that time and helps with the planning and building of their new home. One day, a young hog maid named Trimp arrives and makes friends with the Redwallers. As she helps them with the building, she sings a song that brings up a long forgotten person of Martin's past, Luke the Warrior. Martin's father. Martin becomes listless as he grieves his inability to remember much of his past, like why his father left their home in the first place. His friends all band together and decide that they should let their friend travel to the North Shore to see what information he can find. They send off Martin, Gomph, and Dinny, our beloved trio from Mossflower, as well as Trimp, who will help lead the way. Along the way, they pick up a group of friends, including a squirrel babe, a savage otter, and some Gaussum friends. When they finally arrive on the shore, they are greeted by an old mouse named Verg, who Martin, oh wow, who knows who Martin is and knew Luke. He takes them out to sea, where they find a ship hanging between two rocks and the last other three survivors of what was once Luke's crew. They tell Luke's tale, and they tell Luke's tale. They were once a part of a wandering mouse tribe that Luke had led. They had escaped beasts that made their life harder and attempted to create a life on the North Shore. But sadly, they were attacked one day by a huge red pirate ship run by Vilu Daskar. He and his crew killed many of their people. Luke was unable to stop this, and since he had gone with others of their tribe to get more food. When he came back, his wife had been killed, and only his baby son and mother-in-law were alive. He vowed to get his vengeance. Some seasons later, he had gathered weapons, a crew, and set out, but not before giving his young son Martin his sword. After chasing the red ship across the seas for some seasons, things finally came to a head when Vilu used his ship to destroy the smaller vessel. Only a few survived. They were taken captive and made slaves. Down below, Luke meets Ranguvar, a black squirrel who wants vengeance against the pirates. With some outside help that they were not expecting, Luke and his friends trick Vilu into going back to the North Shore. As they approach, the slaves are set free and begin to fight for their lives. Luke, who is tied to the wheel of the ship, guided the boat into dangerous territory, and a gale begins to pick up. Vilu attempts to kill Luke before he can kill them all, but Luke gets a hold of him, and as the ship breaks apart, they sink to the bottom of the sea, locked together forever. The tale ends, and Martin digests his father's sacrifice. He is given a token of his mother's, a small purse, and then his friends, both old and new, set back out for their home, Redwall Abbey. They arrive and are greeted by friends and family, and Martin lives out the rest of his days there, loved by all around him.
Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, there you go. There it is. There's the summary.
Yeah. To you, Caitlin.
To me, um, it's another classic thing. Actually, second book in the series that has a character not quite amnesia, because Marielle had actual amnesia. Luke
Hmm.
doesn't actually have amnesia. He just has traumatic brain injury
You
and
mean Martin?
What did I say?
You said Luke.
Did I?
You
I
did say
really
Luke.
feel like I said Martin.
You said Luke.
Okay, I'll listen back and find out what I said. Martin has traumatic brain injury,
Yeah.
um, which makes him forget everything that apparently happened to him before, which is convenient. We'll talk about that. Um, yeah. So, sorry, I didn't even finish the sentence. This is another book where a poem unlocks a memory for a
Yeah.
character that then sets them on to a journey. I guess a song more so
Yeah.
than a poem. And I find that really interesting as a concept. I love the idea that music can unlock certain memories if you have forgotten things. I do find it really funny that Brian has used that twice now in this
Yeah.
series. I think it makes sense. It is a pretty good, I guess, beginning to a journey to have a song that someone sings. And it's like, oh, whoa, okay. Suddenly my memory has returned to me.
Yeah.
So that I find interesting. I love that in this one, obviously, they sing a lot of, shanties and things like that. I will be completely honest because I was reading this with my eyes rather than listening to it on audio because it's one of the ones we couldn't find an audiobook for.
Yeah.
I skipped some of the songs that I was looking at, and I'm like, this doesn't actually, other than adding, I guess, ambiance to the story where, characters are going on a journey and they're just singing a song. And I love that. Okay. I'm a person who loves to sing. Most of my road trips, if we're talking about road trips, I spend the majority of time playing music and singing. And if I'm with another person, yes, we do talk. But often what we'll do is have a shared playlist and then
Mhm.
listen to music. So I love the idea of going on a road trip and then everybody's just like, okay, this person sing a song, and then Trip starts singing a song, and then Gonf, you're gonna sing a song now, and Gonf starts singing a song. So I love that idea. However, as a person who is reading it, it got kind of old
Yeah.
after a while. I won't lie to you. So I feel a little bit bad about that, but not enough to go back and read it.
No, yeah.
Um, yeah, did you have any particular songs or poetry that like really stuck out to you?
Crap. I feel like there was one and I forgot to note it down.
Mm,
It wasn't anything huge. I think it was like a later one. Oh, it was wow, I opened actually to the right one. It was towards the end, and I think I'll just read it really quickly.
great.
So it was after we get Luke's story, because for
Mhm.
some context, everybody, the way the story goes is a first bit of it is from Martin and his friend's perspective, and then we do a flashback as these older mice and hare tell the story of his father. And so we're like spend a good chunk of the book in a flashback, and then the last little bit of it is again from Martin's time and his perspective and everything. And then it also hops between Martin and the Abbey's perspective.
Mhm.
So at this point, one of the things the crew said is like we will have the by crew I mean Martin, Gomph, Trimp, and Denny said we'll be back by autumn or like around the beginning of autumn and stuff. So we have the summer to go on this journey and figure some stuff out. And Gaunt has his wife, Columbine, who we remember from Mossflower, but they had a little baby named Gauntlet, and she started singing a song to him, and it was very sweet song, and I
Mhm.
liked it a lot. And so it was, I kind of vaguely, again, similar to what Kaytlyn said, I skipped over a lot of these,
Mhm.
but this one kind of caught my eye just because it was very pretty, I guess is
Mhm.
the right way to put it. So I'm going to read it real quick. It says, round the seasons slowly turning, faithful are the stars and moon. Summer fades, the earth is yearning, softly whispering, autumn soon. Drape the woods in mist one morning, now small birds have learned to fly. Mother Nature's gentle warning, see green leaves turn brown and die. In old orchards on the bough, fruit hangs russet, red and gold. Purple scarlet berries now, all the rambling hedge grows hold. Hazel, beech, and chestnut too, each displays its burden fair. They will shed them all for you, ere winter lays their branches bare. Fields of ripened grain and corn, swaying to a murmuring breeze. shaking off the dew of dawn when the eyes see signs like these. Summer's long, hot days have ended or are ended. Harvest moons o'er stream and mere tell the tale as 'twas intended. Autumn's peaceful dream is here.
Mm,
And that shoots so is Columbine singing this to Gauntlet because at this point, this is like the very, very end of summer. Autumn's about to begin. And Gauntlet's like, when's it gonna be autumn? And so she sings this song and kind of like puts him to sleep with it. So that part was very sweet, and that was one that stuck out to me
yeah.
strangely and stuff. So that was it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. I actually remember that one when you started reading. I was like, "Oh, right, it was the autumn song that she
Yeah.
sings to Gonflet." Because immediately after that, Gonflet, who's like, "Oh, I'm asleep," and everybody's kind of like creeping upstairs, and then he's just like, "Wait a minute, when's autumn?" Because he's a baby and he's Gaunt's son, and so
Yeah.
he's absolute chaos. Yeah. So I think I don't have any else. I don't have any other songs or
Yeah.
poetry that stuck out to me particularly. So moving into a bit of the world building and story. There's a few things. There's a lot of little places that we visit. We don't spend a lot of time in most of them. It's just, a day or two maybe, or it's passing through. So they run into not one, but two different otter tribes on the
Yeah.
journey to the North Shore. And one is Garraway's Holt. She's the queen of that particular otter tribe. And she knows Gonf somehow because Gonf knows everybody. It's such a classic, like you have that one friend that has so many connections and knows everybody. So everywhere you go with that friend, it's just like, okay, we're gonna stand here for a while while this person's talking to this
Yeah.
person. It's such a classic. Of course it's Gonf because Gonf is the charismatic one, you
Yeah.
know? Oh my gosh, I actually just now remembered a poem that I have to talk about because there's some lore that it drops that blew my dang mind. I did not remember.
Hmm.
Um, I don't remember where the poem is,
Wait,
but
is this the Saint Ninians one?
yes.
Oh, I can't believe I forgot about it. That was another one. Yeah, I'm glad you
Yeah.
remembered that.
Um, okay, so if you guys remember way back in Redwall, there's a church that was called Saint Ninians, and it was captured by the rat
Clooney.
Clooney, thank you. Clooney George, no, just kidding. Clooney, the rat, who then sort of set up camp in the church. And it's mentioned a couple of other times, especially in relation to Gonf, because Gonf talks about living there. And sometimes he'll just go live there for a while, I guess, which I realized Brian had to say for continuity purposes, because in Marielle and in Outcast, so Dandon is a descendant of Gonf, I believe. And or is he
Yeah.
a Timbalista?
No, he's
Who's
okay.
well, okay, we'll get there. Get there.
We'll get to that part. Dannon is definitely a descendant of Gomp
Dandon
because
is okay, yeah.
they give him a instrument that was made for
The
Gomp.
flute.
The flute, yeah.
Yes. And then also Bryony is supposed to be a descendant of Gonf, who we talked about
Which makes no
in
sense.
Nope. But it talks about them being from Saint Ninians
Mm,
rather than, and so I was like, that is why Gonf had to say that, is because there's a continuity thing there where he talks about living in Saint Ninians a little bit. But we learned why there's a church, quote unquote, called Saint Ninians. And it's not because it's a saint. It's not because Ninian is the saint of church mice or whatever. No, no, no. It's because in this story, at least, in the song that Gomp sings, it's about the mice that live there is a man named Ninian, or man, a mouse man named Ninian, and his wife and family. And Ninian goes off to do something. I can't remember exactly why, but basically they get into a fight, and the wife paints a sign that says, "This ain't Ninian's." And then over time, the THI from this drops off, and then it's just Saint Ninian's, and that's why
yeah.
it's called Saint Ninian's Church.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what even? Brian. He probably,
Yeah.
here's what probably happened. He probably was getting letters from people that was like, Brian, why is there a church? Why is there a church in this place? Why is it called St. Ninians? We need to know these things. And he finally was just like, don't worry, guys. Gonf will give us the answer. And I'm like,
Yeah.
Brian, that's not a great answer.
Yeah.
It's clever. I'll give him that it is clever, and it made me laugh.
Yeah.
And also, I'd clearly forgotten that because I've read this book before, but I'd
Yeah.
clearly forgotten that that was a thing. So anyway, for anybody who's wondering, like apparently I was, why is it called Saint Ninians? Well, it's not. It's called the Saint Ninians Church.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's fine. Any thoughts about that, Brina?
No, well, it will bring up something, but I don't want to talk about it right at this moment since we
Right.
were
Talking
discussing
about world building.
places and stuff. So,
Yeah. So we've got Garraway's Holt, we've got the Gassam Summer Camp. So it's another classic. The Gassam are a bit nomadic, so they just sort of travel streams, make camp. And this particular tribe, who we remember from Mossflower, are friends of Martin and Gonf and Dinny?
yeah,
I feel like there's another mole named Dinny at some other point, like other than this one.
I don't remember.
Classic. We also have Tungro's Holt and Tungro's tribe. And Tungro is the brother of the savage otter. And when I'm talking savage, I'm talking this otter is a little bit cray-cray and sharpened his teeth, which I'm like, shouldn't his teeth already have been sharp if they're eating fish, though? Anyway, I don't know enough about otters. I don't think their teeth are the same as human teeth. But
Yeah.
he sharpened his teeth into points because he was a meat-eating otter and not just like a fish-eating otter. He ate vermin. He would capture them and eat them. And one of the things I wanted to talk about later with a bit of characters is the effect that babies have on grown adult men in this book, which I find
Mm,
absolutely hilarious.
yeah.
But also just yeah. So that was Tungro basically said to Martin like, "Hey, if you meet this savage otter, he's my brother. Don't be afraid. He's a bit crazy, but also." And then Fulgrim ends up joining them
Yeah.
because they capture him, and then the little squirrel babe is just like, "This my friend," and then forces him to eat
Which
pastries.
we'll get into when we talk about the characters.
I know. I know. Um, so then I guess that this is just a bit of a continuity thing. There's just a random waterfall in this river. And
Yeah.
you know how like time changes the geography of a place. And we
Yeah.
know that rivers erode, water erodes the land. And so it makes sense that there's certain things that, would change geographically over time. But I feel like waterfalls wouldn't just go away. So
Yeah.
where did this waterfall go, Brianna?
Well, I mean, okay, this is reaching a little bit, but it's stated in Madame Mayo there was an earthquake.
In the north.
Yeah. I mean, but they're heading north, so who knows how far up north this.
At this point, they're heading west because they're on the River Moss. They're not heading north, they're heading
I
west.
don't I don't know, Caitlin. I guess it's just a random waterfall.
What happened to the waterfall? Um, then they meet some dune hogs, which I thought was really fun. I like the idea of
Yeah.
them on stilts. I thought that was really clever.
That was funny, yeah. And
And
they're pretending to be ghosts.
yes, very funny. Uh, then so that is all before in the lead up to meeting uh Verg. And then we have sort of the cave dwellings where Martin was born.
Mm,
You meet Verg there, and then Verg takes them to the Tall Rocks where they have ship the Arf ship as they call it, which is just a half ship that's stuck up on the rocks.
yeah.
And then in the story of Luke, we get the caves. You hear a bit about the tribe's journey from the south up to the north. The tribe of mice being like Martin's tribe of mice. And then Luke leaves on a ship and he travels a bit south. They find a hare trapped on an island. They don't actually give that island a name or really any descriptions. There's a volcano island that they go on to where they get captured a bit and they eat some drugged food and then end up in a cave. And then a couple people have to rescue them. And then, of course, there is the island where they get trapped and the island where their ship gets destroyed,
Mm.
which is different than the Tall Rocks.
Yeah.
And that's where everybody gets captured and or killed. And
Yeah.
then Bo and Verg are the ones who survive. And
Yeah.
they we'll get to that. Um, but how they end up back at the red ship.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then after sort of part one is Martin's journey, part two is Luke's journey, part three is Martin's journey, like return to Redwall
Yeah.
Abbey. And we essentially backtrack through these places that we visit. So just some new places that Brian added, and a lot of them don't necessarily make sense. I think this is one of the things that we talked about last time with Lord Brocktree, that there's some continuity stuff that is really questionable.
Yeah.
And one of the things is how often there's like, this is the home of the otters. There's two Holts on the river right here.
Yeah.
And then we just never see that Holt ever again. Or it's not like this family's been around for a long time. And
Yeah. Or the Dune Spike. Like, this is the first time we've ever heard of them.
absolutely.
Yeah.
First time we've ever heard of them. And I'm like, great, that makes sense. This is early on in the, history of the world that we're reading about. So maybe it's
Yeah.
just, but no, they're just never mentioned again. Like dune hedgehogs that live in the dunes are not mentioned again.
Well, it does. I will say they move from the dunes to
Some clearing.
some clearing or whatever, but like still, I actually was thinking about that while I was listening, or not listening, while I was reading it
Yeah.
yesterday, because I finished it literally the day before we were recording.
Hmm.
But I that happens a lot in Brian's series and
Hmm.
everything. It's like, except for maybe the Gaussum as a tribe, I guess you could
Yeah.
call it, they're like the only consistent group. But that still is also kind of all wonky because like there's times where it's like all the Gaussum are together, it feels like, and then other times it's
Yep.
like there's multiple tribes of Gaussum.
Yep.
And so it's like not really set in stone about how they actually work as a people all too well. Um, but like there's never any consistent like this is where this group
Yeah.
comes from, and we see them their group multiple things, all that kind of stuff. So it's very interesting. Like it's like this tribe XYZ, and I'm like, I've never heard of them before. Like,
Yeah.
why have we not seen them again at some point if they live this close to Mossflower or whatever and
Yeah.
stuff? So
And
yeah,
I guess there's also the chance that what we'll see when we go sort of post Madame Mayo and when we start reading more post Madame Mayo, which is what we're going to be doing next, that
yes.
maybe actually we will see some things recurring.
That's a good point. Yeah, I don't remember a ton, even though I do remember certain things. I don't remember like certain smaller connections for sure.
Yeah. And so maybe we'll just keep an eye out for those things. But it, there's just not even a lot of continuity pre-Redwall. That,
Yeah,
Martin, this is Martin's during Martin's time, and we have after Martin a ton of time. You've got Marielle's books, you've got Solomon Dastron, you've got Outcast of Redwall, you've got all these things, and there's just not a lot of continuity in that. But I think
no.
this is the risk that you run with having a series that is not interconnected, I guess. That it's
Hmm.
it's standalone novels all set
Yeah,
in the Redwall series, Redwall
yeah,
world, I guess, rather than something like even The Year of the Griffin and The
yeah,
Dark Lord of Dirkholm. Those are it's a duology, but they're set not just in the same world, they're set connected to each other with similar
yeah,
characters and recurring characters and things like that. So it's definitely an interesting idea of how do you write if you have a world that you've built, you have a world that you're writing in, how do you have the continuity, especially if you're jumping in the timeline of that
yeah,
world? How do you use what you've written before to affect the things that you're writing after. And if you
Mm.
choose, well, I'm writing something in, the year 75. I don't know, I'm making this up. Like if the first story is set in if sorry, here we go. Year zero is Redwall. That is year zero if we're thinking Redwall as we know it. So we're in pre-zero Redwall history. How are you jumping around? How are you writing? How are you filling in gaps? Like, and do they all align? I think is a question that you have to ask if you're jumping around in a timeline. If you just write, like we're writing Redwall, Matameo, Pearls of Lucha, if you're just writing it like that, that's one thing. I just find it really interesting. It's like Star Wars, how episodes 4, 5, 6 are essentially year zero,
Mm.
and then you have, or the first few years, and then you have 1, 2, 3, which are prequels, and you're just like, wait a minute, you went back in time though, and you added some things, and because you wrote 4, 5, 6 first, you added a bunch of stuff in 1, 2, 3 that you then can't go back and add to 4, 5, 6 because,
Yeah.
well, unless you have CGI and you add Anakin Skywalker at the end of episode 6, it's fine. Um, and then you have, no, I don't want to get into that. Not just
Yeah.
Anakin Skywalker, but young Anakin Skywalker and old Obi-Wan
It
Kenobi.
is, yeah, it is what it
Anyway,
is with that.
it
Don't
is
get
what
into
it
that.
is. I won't. And then you have 7, 8, 9. And so
Yeah.
there's some continuity stuff that you run into when you're writing original prequel sequel that I find
Yeah.
challenging. And Redwall is still something I find challenging when you're writing a bunch of stuff in a bunch of different timelines.
Yeah. I feel like personally, and it's so going into one of the really big things, and it's big, but it's not, it
Yeah.
destroys the timeline big
Yeah.
too much, but it still doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So, started out reading this book, and we get to this part, and one of the characters that's vaguely mentioned, that's like we see a part of in Mossflower, is a mouse named Timbalisto.
Mhm.
And that I feel like was a character that Brian made to connect Martin's past with
Yeah.
Mossflower
Yeah.
because Timbalisto was from his tribe. And he remembered who Timbalisto was at the time, and this is Mossflower territory we're talking
Yeah.
about. Um, and so there's that. The beginning of Luke, it talks about. Actually, let's go back. Let's touch on one more book before we get there, because then it will make this even like more make this more sense. Outcast of Redwall. Outcast of Redwall is, in my opinion, like two generations from probably this book to that one, because like Abbess Miriam took over from Abbess. No, was it? Did Columbine become
I thought
Abbess?
no,
I
no,
do
no,
not
no.
remember that being
I
mentioned.
no, 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 no. She took over from Saxtus. Remember?
Miriam did not take over from Saxtus, Galen.
We literally had this exact same conversation when we were talking about Akasa
Galen,
Redwall.
Miriam is set. It has Bella in it. Why would it be after set?
Oh, right, 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 right. I don't think I don't think I have my Outcast of Redwall book. Hold on. Do you have my Outcast of Redwall book?
I don't know why I would, because I listened to it. How about you just look it up?
Okay, I could do that. Okay. I guess Miriam did. I don't think she took over from Jermaine. I don't know who is between Jermaine and Miriam, but it's Abbas Jermaine and then it's Abbas Miriam.
Yeah. So, within that context of what we
Weird.
have, I do like the thing is when Outcast was written, that was before Luke was written.
Hmm.
So it logically makes sense there would be somebody between Jermaine and Miriam, but that's not the
Hmm.
information that's given to us in
Mm-mm.
Outcast. The way that it seems is that Outcast is like two-ish and maybe three-ish generations between parts of Mossflower and Outcast,
But it says that Bryony is like six generations.
which makes no sense. Is part of what I'm
Oh,
going with
okay.
this on
Okay,
our
yeah,
thing.
okay.
So, okay, couple of things. One is one of the characters who's an older character in the Outcast is
Mhm.
it says I'm Timbalus's grandson. So
In
he's the recorder and
Outcast?
I don't in Outcast, yes.
Oh. Okay.
We talked about this, Caitlin, already.
Brianna, do you know how many episodes we have done
No, I
recently?
talked about this literally like last week when I started reading the book.
That was a week ago.
I sent you a message.
That was a week ago.
Okay. So I was reading it and reading the beginning of Luke. And so I was like, there's that. Martin says at the beginning of this book, he's like, I don't remember much of my past. And Tim Ballisto, we never really talked about it. He died a season after the war ended. And I was like, what? There's no way he could have had a kid and then also a grandson that he was quoted as talking to in Outcast, kind of a thing. Like,
Yeah,
it doesn't make any sense. So it's
it
like,
doesn't.
I mean, it's a very easy thing to fix, honestly. Like, just not make the recorder um attached to him or make him the grandson of a different character,
Or
kind of
make
thing.
Tim Ballisto not die
Make Tim Wilson
immediately.
not,
Give
but the
him like,
problem, the issue that brings up is the whole things that happen in Luke. So it's just easier to take out the
yeah,
Tim
connection to
Ballisto
Tim
being
Ballisto.
connected to him. Yeah. So that was where my brain was going with that. So that's a pretty big
Discrepancy.
like discrepancy between characters, which funny thing is it just makes Outcast even worse in
It
some ways
does.
because it's like you have to fix so much in Outcast to make it like
Yeah,
attach well to certain
to
other
make it
things and
make
stuff.
sense.
Yes, to make it make sense. So, like, it's funny because this is written after. So, like, the egregious part actually is from Luke and the fact that
Hmm.
Brian just decided let's kill off Tim Ballisto. Because I honestly, I was thinking about this. I feel like Tim Ballisto was just a shoved in character kind of in Mossflower. Like, he really wasn't needed at
Yeah,
all. And he's not in any way attached to our backstory story for Martin, where
yeah,
he like we get a look into it, but we don't know like literally we know no characters that knew him while he was on the North Shore and
yeah,
everything. So like it didn't like him being there didn't make sense. And then
yeah,
they put him into Mossflower for I don't know what reason. So it's had some connection, but then Brian didn't even follow through with that in Luke, where there was this character that was connected to his past. And it's like, no, we're just gonna kill him
yeah,
off. But we did connect him to a random character in Outcast. So it was just wild. It was probably the biggest standing out to me thing that I noticed so far in the series that's like just didn't make any sense and stuff. So that was a big one with that. Uh yeah.
yeah. Man, that is such a huge discrepancy, my dude.
Yeah.
All right, well, there's like a bunch. Anyway, okay, so I also one of the things I want to talk about was Martin. Okay.
Yeah.
Gosh, there's so many things. Because we also talked about we also have to talk about the sea lion. We have to talk about you said something about the babies, squirrels. Or were we talking about Fulgrim? Or is that just about Tim
You
Ballisto's?
you were the one that brought that up.
But I said something about Squirrel Babe, and then you were like, wait, we should talk about that. There's something to talk about with that character
Oh no, I was just saying let's talk about the characters in the character
in the
section and
character
not
section. I
hopping
see.
in between setting and character because then it will
I
confuse
see.
people.
Yes, we're so clear and concise in our words, Brianna. That's a thing that's known about us. Um, okay, well, I want to talk about Martin a bit because I find Martin's character in the books that are actually about him really interesting. In Martin the Warrior, he's young, he's impetuous, he's experiences some real deep trauma and it's real bad. And it's losing Rose was one of the worst things. Like honestly, even worse than losing his father and his whole tribe, I think Rose was worse for him. And it's one of the things that I just really, it bothers me is the fact that he'll talk about losing his tribe. He'll, obviously, he doesn't remember a whole lot because he was a young mouse when his mom was killed, when his dad left, when he and his grandma were taken, and um, when he was beaten, like all of these things, which, trauma does affect your memory, and that's absolutely a true thing. But the fact that he's willing to talk about this stuff and go on a journey to discover this stuff in his older age and unpack that particular trauma, but he's not willing at all to ever talk about Rose. And not only is he not willing to talk about it, we don't get any hints about it in this book. This is the first book that has Martin, and only book that has Martin after Mossflower.
Yeah.
In living, I guess, because he's technically in a lot of other books because he's dead and he's a spirit. But the fact that he never, ever even, it's not alluded to, it's not mentioned, it's literally nothing ever again, just really gets me because Rose was such an important character to him. And those friends that he made at that time, so important. Also, we never see Noonvale again.
Never.
Never mentioned, there's no character. Like, I, I 100% think that Rose's brother would have been like, Martin, you can't forget me. You have to remember. For Rose's sake, we have to be besties. I know that at the end of Martin, they were all like, we understand. He has to do this. He has to wander south. We have to let him go. But I'm like, no, Martin, get better. You're at a place that has a bunch of healers. You're in a safe environment now. You have Abish Germain, who is wise and warm and brilliant. You have Bella, who's fantastic. You have Columbine, who's your best friend's wife. Like, come on, man. There's so many opportunities for you to share with these women at the Abbey about all your deep trauma. Plus, you have a best friend. And the fact that Gonf never, ever knows that
Yeah.
Martin was in love once, it just really bothers me. I think because
Yeah.
I'm an open book in a lot of ways that I'm just like, how could you have a friend that close and not be like, here's my deepest trauma, and
Yeah.
here are the ways that it
I
affects me to this day?
I was actually hoping there'd be some hint of stuff that happened from Martin the Warrior in this. Not that we needed to run into a character or anything, but even him just mentioning very briefly losing the love of his life, basically, and stuff, or like being his fault. I'm like,
Or
we're not
even
gonna mention that
something,
now.
if we want to go super vague, okay? He could say something about, I've lost father, I've lost my tribe, like I lost other friends on my journey to Mossflower. Like
Mm,
even if a mention like that could at least let you know that he still thinks about them.
yeah,
But the way that he kind of gets out of it is by
yeah,
talking about the injuries that he experienced during the battle with Sarmina. Because right at the
yeah.
end of Mossflower, he was almost dead. Okay, I'll give you that. Like he'd
Mm,
gotten really badly wounded, and it took time and time and time for him to heal.
yeah,
And so he talks about how his brain is just really fuzzy towards certain things from the past, like pre-Mossflower, I guess. And I'm like, I get it. But it still would have been nice to have at least some mention of some kind that it still bothers you, that it still is a part of you. Because I think maybe this is what I'm trying to talk about. Maybe I'm just getting all caught up in my brain. Uh, I think it's like having a wound that you've covered up with a band-aid or a bandage of some kind, and it's just festering underneath. And rather than opening it up to the air, opening it up to the light, letting it heal, and yes, having a scar, and that's going to be something that's noticeable, you're hiding it and you're hiding from it. And I think that Martin is lauded as this brilliant warrior and compassionate leader and brave character. And yet, I mean, granted, we want them to have flaws, and that's good. Martin has a flaw. But the fact that there's this huge wound that he has that he just buries deep down and never speaks about ever again. I'm like, dude, really? Until the day you die, you're never going to speak about it?
hmm.
Really? Anyway.
It's funny because And again, I don't know what happens in later books and stuff, but this one and Solomon Dastron,
Hmm.
no, not Solomon Dastron.
Out. I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm trying to just one second.
Hmm.
It was Outcast, never mind. But so Martin the Warrior,
Hmm.
not the Legend of Luke. Martin the Warrior is the story of Martin isn't told until like Saxtus's time.
Hmm.
Or it's not even Saxtus's time. I don't remember. It's brought to the Abbey at some point between Mariel and Bellmaker and
Hmm.
stuff, the story. And but like it's so unconnected from everything else besides the fact that the information was brought at that point.
Yeah, you're right. It was Abbot Saxtus.
Okay, yeah. So like literally that story is so unconnected from the rest of the series in some
Hmm.
ways. For various reasons. It's just interesting. Yeah, I completely agree. I think it's honestly dumb that like I love Brian's books and everything.
Oh
And
yeah.
Martin's a good story, but I think part of the reason why I don't like the book Martin the Warrior is because we completely ignore all of the things that happen in it basically in every other way, like with Martin's character and
Hmm.
stuff. Even this book, because Martin the Warrior came after Mossflower, but Luke came after both.
Hmm.
So like we didn't even see any follow-up of connection with Martin the Warrior in this one
None.
and stuff. And it's just like, oh, that's actually something I wanted to bring up.
Hmm.
Another weird, vague way that Brian could have connected that book in this one.
Hmm.
The bad guy from Martin the Warrior was also a pirate at one point,
Hmm.
and there was another pirate and everything. I'm like, you couldn't have had Vilu mention like I it just like couldn't even have had them run into each other or something like that. I don't
Hmm.
even know as pirates and
Well,
stuff.
yeah, because in Martin, Badrang had built
Badgering, yeah,
Marshank and
yeah,
had corsairs sailing up and down, like,
mhm,
and would stop occasionally by Marshank.
yeah,
And yeah, Vilu could have mentioned
yeah.
stopping at
It
Marshank at some point, or
he wouldn't have mentioned Marshank because Marshank wasn't built until a little bit after he took Martin. There wasn't beginning to be built till a little bit after he took Martin. So it would have just been a reference to
oh, that's
Badrang,
right,
the
because Vilu,
pirate.
yeah, I
Yeah,
see. Yeah, because
yeah,
Vilu was before. I see what you're talking
yes,
about. Yeah.
yeah.
So he could have
So
mentioned Badrang the pirate, yeah.
yeah. So it's just
Or Clog, because it was Clog was the other captain.
yes, yeah.
So
The
either
one that
he
went
could have
crazy.
mentioned either Clog or Badrick. Yeah. But
Yeah.
I totally agree with you. That is a way that he could have mentioned him. But I really like the way that you said it. It's just so unattached. Or what did you say? It's so, I don't remember the exact word that you used.
Unconnected.
Unconnected. Yeah. From everything else. Because you never see Noonvale again. The only way it's connected is that the prologue and epilogue, where
Yeah.
the people from Noonvale go and talk to Abbot Saxtus and the people at Redwall.
Yeah.
That's the only
Cause
way it's
like
connected.
cause like even later so what we've been doing literally for most of this first half of this season that we've been going into with our episodes with Redwall specifically
Hmm.
is we've been stuck in the past. So
Hmm.
pre-Redwall, like all of these stories we've been listening to, reading, and everything have been set in the past,
Hmm.
except for Madame or
Yep.
like everything else was pre-Redwall, the book. So we're hopping all over the timeline, and some books feel more connected than others. Like, um, even Outcast, it's connected
Hmm.
to its previous ones, like the other ones before it, even in the timeline, because we have Bella still in it, somehow still alive. And then we also have, what was the other thing? The fact that Sunflash is supposed to become the next
Hmm.
Badger Lord to take over from Boar, who we know died in Mossflower and
Hmm.
everything. And then we like there's other book like the other ones from the past what was Salomon Dastron's one? It was connected to Redwall because we do have some connections with all of that. It's just Martin is so unconnected because it was
Hmm.
pre-Redwall, so that we didn't have even like people connected with that. We
Hmm.
never, it's so like in a different part that's like doesn't even ever talk about Solomon
Yep.
Dastron. And none of the characters, like we've said, connect from this. But something you got to remember, this isn't about Martin the Warrior, the book. This is about Luke. So like that's like but it's very connected and important to like talk about that because they're supposed to be
Yeah.
about Martin's past. But it's a little bit sad how unconnected they are
Yeah.
from everything and stuff. So it's
It,
wild and
it's
I don't know.
definitely it is about Luke, but it's two-thirds of the book are about Martin. So yes, it's
Yes, yeah,
about Luke, but it's about Martin's journey to and from finding out about what happened to Luke. And I
yeah.
think that's the important thing. Brianna, okay. Finally, do you have a favorite character? Do you have a character you want to talk about? Should we talk about Luke actually, the main point of this book?
I so I'm gonna be honest, there wasn't a lot of like you know, you know what my favorite characters were? Was Bo and
Yeah.
Luke's crew. It
Hmm.
was like Bo and Berg were my
Hmm.
favorites
Hmm.
because they had such chemistry together
Hmm.
and everything and all of their interactions. They constantly were fighting with each other,
Hmm.
and they're the reason why the slaves were able to get freed during
Hmm.
Luke's whole thing and stuff. And I am like, yeah, these are great characters. They really stuck out, um, and everything even though honestly, the thing that kind of bothered me a little bit later in the story, so when we get to the part where they after the story has been told
Hmm.
and Martin everybody's like, guys, come with us. You're a bunch of
Hmm.
old fogies. You shouldn't be up here anymore. Come back to Redwall Abbey with me. For some reason, after that part, none of the other three mice that are from the old crew talk. It's only Bo every single time, and I'm like, why is Verg not talking at any point after the story is told? It's weird and it like bothers me a little bit 'cause I'm like,
Whoa, I never
yeah,
noticed that.
yeah. It's like I think maybe a little bit at the very beginning of that sequence of when they're trying to go home. There's a little bit of talk, but like it's only ever Bo when it's like interacting for the most part and
I did
stuff.
not
And I'm like,
clock that.
yeah, and I'm like, but he like it's why don't we have Berg talking or one of the other two mice and stuff? It's just weird. So I'm like, but I really liked Berg and Bo when we were mostly in the past and them chatting, or even when we got to meet them when we
Hmm.
first met Berg, and then he gets back and Bo's like, "Where have you been?" And then they
Hmm.
start insulting each other as normal and
Hmm.
stuff. So those two I think are my favorite character. My least favorite character. I don't I don't particularly have a least favorite character. Everybody was
Yeah.
just like, yeah. Like I didn't have anybody that I hated. I mean, you're supposed to hate the bad guys, so I don't include them
Hmm.
in this because it's like that's not important. But yeah, so I think I only really have those two that really stood out to me character-wise.
Brianna,
Caitlin.
the sea lion.
The sea lion. Is that a favorite character of yours?
No, we have to talk about it.
Okay.
One of the, excuse me, one of the things that I find so strange about Brian
Yeah.
is in every single book so far, we've had some sort of visitation from a non-rodent or non-mammal creature of some
Hmm.
kind. I don't know if sea lions are mammals. I'd have to Google that. All I know,
Caitlin, they
what?
are.
Great, love it. Are dolphins
Would you
also
know?
mammals?
Yes, Caitlin.
Okay, great. But birds aren't.
No.
Great. Okay, those are birds. Here's my confusion. Is Brian will
Okay.
introduce a non-forest woodland creature. I don't know
Uh-huh.
how to like differentiate them. A non-traditional Redwall animal is what we'll
Yeah.
say. A bird here or there. A lot of birds. He'll just introduce a random bird. And there's a bird in here, even. A bird that's spoken Old English for some reason that I just
Yeah.
never understood. So that was one thing. One creature that was a bit rogue. There's the bats, there's the heron, the marshal of whatever the hill was. Um, and then in Luke's story, not only, okay, here's what happens. Okay? Luke and his crew are on a ship. There's a storm. Bo gets washed overboard and lost to the sea. And they're like, well, Bo's dead. Womp womp. Everything's sad.
Yeah.
Then they get they go to an island to repair their boat. Their boat happens to be at the same island that the red ship happens to be at. What a coinkydinky. They were following the red ship, but they didn't realize the red ship was at this island. The red ship says, we're gonna smash this boat to pieces. They do that. They kill most of the mice. The only ones that survive are Luke and his three friends, Verg and the two mice with D names who I get confused constantly because why would you do that? So there's four mice that survive. They're captured. Verg does not, they don't know that Verg survives. Verg is thrown off and basically left abandoned. There's only three mice that get put on the ship. It is Luke and his two friends who have names that start with D. And they go off on the red ship. Now, Verg is on the island and he's like, everybody's dead. And this is really sad. And he goes and suddenly bumps into who should it be? It's Bo. Because somehow Bo got lost in the ocean and then also washed up on this one particular island. Out of
Yeah.
all the islands in the ocean, it was this one that he washed up upon. And they're
Yeah.
like, great, there's two of us now. You know what we're going to do? We're going to build a boat. Sorry, we're going to build a raft. And then we're going to sail to find the red ship. In our raft that we're going to have to row by hand? What kind of nonsense were they thinking? But this is a little bit like Bo's character. He's just kind of like, we got the idea. Let's go. So they're working on it. And then out of nowhere, literally nowhere,
Yeah.
a sea lion pops up and is just like, let me make you a boat.
Yeah. Or he doesn't make him.
He doesn't make that. He helps them make the boat. He puts like some
Oh,
sort of
yeah.
kelpy doodad, like the bubble kelp on, and then
Yes.
helps like use some sort of under the ocean seaweed thingy to like seal the wood together.
Yes. Yeah.
And then he's like, you guys are going after the red ship. I hate that ship too. Crazy. Let me drag you. I will swim with you to go find the red ship. And then I'm like,
But it's
why?
not even what happens. What happens is calls some of his bottlenose dolphin friends that push them over there.
He doesn't call them. He's just swimming along and then he jumps in the boat and Bo's like, it's sharks, we're gonna die. And the sea lion, whose name is Bullwag, I think, is just like, oh no, don't worry, guys. They're my friends. And they just happened to see me and they're gonna pull us for a while. They're gonna give me a
Yeah.
break. And then he's talking to the dolphins in their dolphin language. Brita, what the heck? How
I don't know what
sea
to tell you.
lion? It's
Yeah.
like I have dolphins. So they're sentient.
I don't have an explanation for you, Kaytlyn. It is wild. I don't know why Brian chose to do that or anything, but it is
Because
what
they
it
needed
is.
to get to the red ship, Brianna. That's the
Yes,
only
yeah.
reason. They added nothing. And not only that, usually when you introduce a character during a part of something, when Brian introduces a character that's a one-off character of some kind, the bird is a really good example. Okay, he introduces it in part one. The bird helps them, and then as they're journeying back to Redwall, the bird comes back for a brief moment and talks to them.
Mhm.
That is continuity. It is what Chekhov's gun is what that is. That if you mention something, you better follow up with the mentioning of that thing like later.
Yeah.
Okay?
Honestly, if you think about it, the ball wag thing is literally just the Eagles.
It is literally the Eagles
Yeah.
from Lord of the Rings.
Yes. It was a device to get character from
Characters
point
from
A to
point A
point
to point
B,
B.
and there's no logical explanation of why they chose to do it right in this moment besides the fact that it was needed. So that's, I think, the only explanation, honestly, that you can give for that.
But again, I'm willing to bet money that we never see dolphins again in the series.
Oh, I don't doubt it. I was surprised that we saw bats twice, honestly. I thought they were only in one of the books, and
Yeah.
then he brought them up again in uh, the worst book possible, but it is what it is.
Oh,
So,
I know.
yeah.
All right, my favorite character, I like, okay, here's what I'll say. I think I don't think I had a favorite character in this one. I don't know.
Yeah.
It I love Gonf, like I think he's great. I love Gonf as like a middle-aged dad.
Yeah.
I think that's really funny. Um, I wish we had seen more of Rangovar the squirrel.
Yes.
I wish she hadn't also died
You know
going
what?
down with the
The
ship.
My question is, why was she so angry? They never gave a good explanation except for they took her. And like
Didn't they
that
kill
was
her
one of my
whole, or am
we
I,
had
did we
the
not?
thing is they take we see her get taken in her tribe and everything. At no point does it connect her with any of them as um she has a connection with them and stuff.
With
So
who?
like with her tribe.
With her tribe. Okay.
It's like we've lost loved ones, and it's like, what loved ones? You never mention any of them. You just are angry, and that you've been captured is the vibe that I get from every time. Like, because it's never at any point does she say anything regarding like you killed my XYZ or
Mm-hmm.
anything. She doesn't even say you killed my tribe. It's just I'm gonna kill you
Mm-hmm.
is like her whole vibe and stuff. And I'm like, there's nothing wrong with that, but like it's just the way they kind of like do it in the
Mm-hmm.
book is very much like she's a warrior, she's trying to get revenge, blah blah blah. I'm like, revenge for what?
Mm-hmm.
I like
Killing her tribe.
so killing her tribe, I guess, but she never mentions it at any
I
point.
know.
So I'm like, it's there's a lot like to be desired in my opinion with this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I actually brought this up to you when we were texting about how this kind of makes me think of the Odyssey a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
with Luke's journey specifically.
Mm-hmm.
And except for he never gets home.
Mm-hmm.
Really. Like he does, but he doesn't kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But there's just like a lot of parts that's like we watch Luke leave the North Shore, go out, follow, like do some adventures and everything sort of, and then follow the thing, get literally utterly killed, devastated, loses most like almost all of his crew. And then they head back to the North Shore with being held captive and they trick the bad guy, etc., and everything. And then, like, Luke thinks that Martin will be there when he gets there, and then he sees that the tribe's not there at all, which that's another thing that confused me a little bit, is there's almost no explanation about what happened to the tribe. Even in Mossflower, I know Timbalisso got taken by slavers, but, like, I don't remember if there was any explanation about, like, was it the whole tribe? Was he the only survivor? Um, that kind of a thing and stuff. So, just like there's not a lot to anchor this story in a lot of ways, in my opinion, into my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Like the part that made me feel the most emotional, I guess you could say, if I like had any major one, was when they were on their way home, and it was Martin's connections with everybody
Mm-hmm.
and to the place they were going to and the connections that he made. But like Luke's story was very like out of pocket, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
it, and I was like very much like it's just a revenge story and he left behind his son and all this other stuff. So I don't know. It was a lot, but it definitely made it hard for me to connect with it
Yeah.
because of that.
I think it's a good take on revenge cannot be a good motivator for you to live your life
Yeah.
because Luke, after losing his wife, because he was so bent on revenge, he didn't just lose his wife. He lost his entire tribe. He lost his son. He lost his mother-in-law. He lost his best friends. Like, he sacrificed so many people for the sake of getting revenge on Daskar that was it worth it in the end? Like to kill Vilu, like was that actually worth it when
Yeah.
he never got to see his son again? His tribe, he abandoned his tribe, and he even had said when Vilu had originally come and killed all the mice, that if he had been there, he would have fought back. Granted, would he have won? I don't know. Probably not because there's a lot of vermin in the red ship.
Yeah.
But if he had not abandoned the tribe to go hunting Vilu when Badrang's crew came, maybe there would have been more warriors to fight off Badrang's crew.
The thing is, Badrang never actually got to the North Shore. For some reason, I can't remember why, Martin and his grandmother walked super far away and were taken away from the tribe. Like, they were away from the tribe for whatever reason. And Badrang picked them up and then took off in a different direction, everything, and never touched on the North Shore.
Oh, I thought, hang
He
on.
didn't attack their tribe at all. Martin, for some reason, took it in his mind that he needed to walk off somewhere, and his grandmother followed him, and they were picked up by Badrang.
Okay. Maybe I wasn't he just wandering trying to pick flowers or food or something like that?
I don't.
I
He
don't think
brought the
he
sword with him. I think he was
but
being a dumb, stupid teenager, or not even teenager. I think he was just a kid at this point. Like
mm,
he's being dumb and stupid, and like was wandering off. And it's like I'm gonna be a warrior. I think is what it was, and got captured by Badring. And Windred was with him, and she didn't make it.
no, but she was old, so um but anyway, the point is revenge is a bad motivator to do things. This is
Yeah,
this is the point I was trying to make with this whole Luke thing, is that Luke lost everything in his pursuit of revenge, and the only thing he got was that he killed Vilu. And not only that
yeah,
he killed Vilu, he went down with the ship. Luke and Vilu were literally chained to the wheel of the ship. And that's the only that's how Vilu died.
yeah.
Is Luke trapped him and then they drowned. And I think
And it's something that bothered me was also like Luke is like, yeah, he should have done that. I'm like, or not Luke. Martin was like when I was
that's
talking
what a
about,
warrior does essentially.
yeah, and I'm like, he
No.
like he didn't protect anybody. Like, yes, they freed the slaves. That's great. Love that. But what about the people you were supposed to be the leader of? Like
But also
I
half the ship fell into the sea and people died. Like half the slaves died essentially. There's 3 decks of
yeah,
slaves rowing on that boat.
but they don't mention that part in the final conflict at all, that a bunch of slaves also died. They just are like, that front half fell off, and then we were stuck up here, and the people that were still alive, XYZ, and all that stuff. So, yeah,
But
I
also it
do
couldn't
feel, yeah,
this is the confusing. It couldn't have been the front half. This is I was confused about how the ship got stuck. Not how the ship got, but like because the giant spike that trapped them on the rock in the first place, because it was the spike that drove into the rock and is essentially like that's the reason they're hanging there. Is because there's a spike. It's wedged in because there's a spike. Like you know how their ship was destroyed with the
yeah, but
giant
the
spike
front
that was
half broke off, and it just wedged them in there. It had nothing to do with the spike.
it talked about the giant iron spike that got stuck in the rock.
That's weird because the picture, where did the book go? I have it.
I agree it's weird, Brianna.
But if you look at the picture,
Yes,
it doesn't show.
I agree. I fully agree with you. The picture does not show the giant iron spike. Well, because part of the giant, well, actually, it does show the giant iron spike. Oh, I can't zoom in. Dang it.
I don't know. It's whatever. Some part of it fell off, I guess, but that doesn't make sense in the scheme of things. So,
It doesn't.
yeah, Luke, The Legend of Luke was a confusing book for a
Hmm.
lot of reasons. And I honestly, it doesn't do a lot for me to the story of Martin.
Hmm.
Like, the thing that I think bothers me the most, and this might be partly trauma, possibly,
Hmm.
is the fact that Luke just left his kid
Yep.
and then saw the shore was empty and was like, well, I'm gonna die now. I'm gonna take this
Time to
guy down with
die.
me.
Yep.
And didn't even bother trying to figure out what the heck happened to his family or son, like his son.
Yep.
He's just like, time to die. And I'm like,
Yep.
I know he was like literally, I don't know if Luke could have survived that, even if he had made the if he had wanted to, because of
Hmm.
all of the stuff that was going on. So that's a valid bit with that. But it still bothers me a little bit
Yeah.
of just like he gave up. And I know he was already devastated. because of his wife being killed and all that kind of stuff. But I feel like that also should motivate you more to try to keep alive the people that you do have and everything. But I know that's not the point of the story. The point was Luke was a great warrior. That was literally
Mhm.
that's the like main point of it and stuff. So yeah,
Yeah. So what would you just rate it for nostalgia?
this is a maybe it's a three for me. It's not nostalgia wise, it's just a three.
Hmm.
Like it adds some aspects to Martin, but like it doesn't do a lot for me overall
Hmm.
as the story. And it's never been one I wanted to reread.
Yeah. I mean, it's a two for me for the same reason
Yeah,
that I just don't feel like it added a whole lot. There's a lot of discrepancies that it throws in, and it's just generally quite confusing.
yeah,
It was good. There was parts of it I really enjoyed, but yeah, it was fine.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
we're about to enter into the era that we really want to enter into, which is the Kraga saga.
Yes, excited about that.
Excited. Right. Any other thoughts on The Legend of Luke? Even though this episode I think is particularly long because we had a lot of random stuff to talk about.
No.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of the Readers Clubhouse. If you like this discussion and you want to hear more, you can find us on YouTube and Spotify every other Friday. You can check our episode description for our socials. Join us in the clubhouse next time as we discuss the Pearls of Lutra, which
Yeah,
is technically not a part of the Kraga saga, but it has characters who will be a part of the Kraga saga. It's really great. I'm very excited.
same.
This is going to be a good book. All right, guys, we will see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.